morning and welcome to 8 at 8. This morning I want to share with you some powerful and stirring words from Oswald Chambers. He's got a real message for us to hear this morning. He quotes this verse from Hebrews that says, "Let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together." And he says we're all capable of being spiritually lazy saints. We want to stay off the rough roads of life. Our primary objective is to peacefully retreat from the world. He says, I want you to think about this idea of stirring up one another. It requires initiative. He says it's our willingness to take the first step towards Christ realization, really realizing who Christ is versus self-realization, focusing on ourself. He says to live a distant and a withdrawn and a secluded life is diametrically opposed to the kind of spirituality that Jesus called people to. He said the true test of our spirituality occurs when we come up against injustice, degradation, ingratitude, turmoil, and all of those things tend to make us spiritually lazy. Let me say that again. When we see injustice, when we see degradation, when we see people with ingratitude or turmoil, our tendency is to retreat. It's to spiritual laziness. While we're feeling all those things, we tend to go to prayer and Bible study, trying to find a quiet retreat, Chambers says. We use God, he says, only to get peace and joy. And this is the first step in the wrong direction when we try to find something like peace and joy instead of finding God himself. He says that peace and joy are actually the effects of finding God. They're not the causes. We shouldn't be seeking peace and joy itself. We should be seeking God who leads us to find that peace and joy. Peter himself said, I think it's right to stir you up by reminding you. And I love this, the way that Chambers says this. He says it's the most disturbing thing to be hit squarely in the stomach by someone being used by God to stir us up. Man, it doesn't feel good, right? And so what most of us do when we don't feel good, we run away, we retreat, we withdraw into trying to find peace without dealing with the thing that stirred us up. But he says the real danger, last thing, the real danger in spiritual laziness is that we do not want to be stirred up. And so friends, this morning, if you are tired of being stirred up, if you're tired of being made uncomfortable, Chambers is saying to you, listen to Jesus, who never talked about spiritual retirement. He said, go and tell my brethren. Go and tell those who are struggling. Go and be a light. Go and share the gospel. And so the song that I want to share with you this morning, it's not a song that it's about feeling bad that we've retreated. It's not a song about making you feel guilty. It's a song about going, because that is the opposite of spiritual laziness. Let me go back to Oswald's words. When we come up against injustice or degradation or ingratitude or turmoil, it's not that we need to feel bad. We need to actually go to the people who are struggling. And this song that I'm about to share with you talks about people who are perishing, talks about people who are slighting God. It talks about people who are down and crushed by the tempter. It talks about people who are wandering. And the way to get out of spiritual laziness is to go towards those people, to be stirred up, to go and be the light that Jesus Christ has called us to be. So here we go. May these words stir you up and send you out. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying, snatch them in pity from sin and the grave. Weep o'er the erring one, lift up the fallen, tell them of Jesus the mighty to save. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying, Jesus will save. Though they are slighting him, still he is waiting the penitent child to receive. So plead with them earnestly, plead with them gently. He will forgive if they only believe. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying. Jesus is merciful, Jesus will save. Down in the human heart, crushed by the tempter, feelings lie buried that grace can restore. Touched by a loving heart, wakened by kindness, chords that are broken will vibrate once more. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying. Jesus is merciful, Jesus will save. Rescue the perishing, duty demands it. Strength for your labor the Lord will provide. Back to the narrow way, patiently win them. Tell the poor wanderer, Savior has died. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying. Jesus is merciful, and Jesus will save. Listen, if there's someone you know who has stirred you up, and if there's someone else you know who is desperately in need of God's touch today, listen, down in the human heart, crushed by the tempter, feelings lie buried that grace can restore. Touched by a loving heart, that could be you going out and touching them with a loving heart. Wakened by kindness, the chords that are broken will vibrate once more. Would you get out of that spiritually lazy state and go out and be the beautiful joy and light and mercy that God wants to send to someone who's in need? Would God stir you up today?